Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are on this earth plane in this now moment. I feel like I heard that from somebody that I used to listen to on YouTube. Not sure who now to credit it with, but good morning, good morning, good morning. There was a time that, and I want to apologize a little bit for the glare on my glasses, but I can't quite figure out where to put this where there won't be a glare. There was a time, I don't want to spend it all trying to find the perfect posture. There was a time that I would have thought someone who told me I could decide to be happy was insane themselves. Didn't understand human nature, clearly didn't understand the pain I had carried in my life since childhood. I'm reading a lot lately about how we come into the world as our true selves. Some would say with our Buddha nature, complete and whole. And then for many of us, society, our families, whether there's alcoholism or drug addiction or none of that, if our parents never even touched a drop of alcohol, but there was some other form of dysfunction, but something chipped away at that true self day by day. And for many of us, it was lost, and we spent our adulthoods trying to reconnect with that. I don't know that I'm going to quote Amoda Ma exactly today, but she shares her story, and she certainly had plenty of trauma in her young life. But anyway, there's just something that she speaks about. Now, she doesn't talk about that a lot, like I seem to lately. And hopefully I'm not making myself wrong for that. Spiritualizing, it's like, I want to teach you how to just have a positive, filled life full of positivity and delicious spirituality, not necessarily religious affiliation, maybe some ritual, some ceremony, some things that spark the spirit to life. But anyway, I'm doing this morning, and part of my newfound truth that I actually can decide to be happy. One of which is going to be that I'm keeping this short today because I'm going to sit here and listen to the birds sing. Many mornings, I've told you that morning can be my most challenging time. I up until now, I would spend a lot of mornings feeling pretty heavy. I would call it depressed, resisting getting out of bed, afraid the day wouldn't be any different than any other day, thinking I didn't have what I needed to create any other kind of life, that I didn't know how to tap into my own joy or connect with people in the meaningful way that I wanted to. So I wouldn't have believed that I could just decide to be happy. Trying to decide if I want to share this. My own therapist, I would come in and complain about day after day after day. I feel this same heaviness, this state of depression, and I can't seem to just flip the switch and get out of it. And I would talk about the things I would think or say to myself when I would wake up, like, get up. What's your problem? What do you really have going on that's that hard? There's no problem in your life. You are privileged. You have a roof over your head. You have a full refrigerator. You have a job you love. You have people that love you. And yet, this didn't seem real to the part of me that was suffering. It was still suffering. The suffering felt like the most real thing. And he never shamed me for the messages he never shamed me for what I was saying to myself. I think he probably listened to it maybe for years. And then one day he gently said two things. He said, "You're really good at suffering." And I was like, what does that mean? Who wants to be good at suffering? I don't want to continue to suffer. I want answers to how to get out of this. And that's why I'm in therapy. And he was providing them. He was teaching me how to connect with my inner child and how to be unconditionally loving to myself. He was mirroring and reflecting that. But that day, I could feel that there wasn't any judgment in his comment. There was gentleness. And I was able to stop and go, okay. And sometimes he'll say, have fun with it. Have a good cry. Have fun with your pain. And I'm like, okay, you're insane too. I don't know what you're saying. That's as insane as saying I can decide to be happy. But guess what? He told me, he said, okay, when you wake up tomorrow, instead of kicking the shit out of yourself, just say instead, oh, my bed is so comfortable. And it is. These covers, it just feels so warm and cozy and safe to be under these covers. And I would just fall into the truth of that deliciousness. And in that new message, I would release the resistance I had to getting up, or even the resistance I had to wanting to stay in bed. There was an openness, a gentleness that took its place. And guess what? It became easy to get out of bed after I released the resistance and moved into the openness. So, deciding to be happy. The thought that came to me this morning as I'm sitting here sipping my joy juice, thank you, Mo, for teaching me. It's just simple. It's just spring water and fresh cut up ginger. Believe it or not, I don't want to demonize Walmart, but I don't shop there very often. But she found organic ginger from Peru. And so I bought a big batch of it, and then some cayenne pepper and honey in equal measures. Call it joy juice. So this morning I was thinking, the last few mornings I got up earlier than is normal for me. Normally I've prided myself up on, I can wake up at 6, 7 usually, and then just take my morning medication, my thyroid medicine, and roll over and go back to sleep. And guess what? When I wake up the next time, I usually feel heavier. So I had to get up because I was taking a friend to the airport a couple mornings ago, and I got up at 4:30, and I thought, well, I'll just go home and go back to bed. But I didn't. I stayed up. I treated myself to some Waffle House cheesy eggs and raisin toast because they make me happy. And then I went for a walk, and I felt lighter. I felt happy having been with friends that morning and having moved my body and treated myself to a breakfast even. I often don't eat until noon, and I think it's because I'm not hungry, but our bodies need fuel. It's pretty hard to be happy if we're not fueling our bodies. So this morning the thought was, I did decide. So maybe it felt like I was deciding to be happy because I was journaling, another tool that supports me in this journey towards self-compassion, maybe, or self-tenderness, self-softening. Those are words from Amodama. Maybe let's not throw compassion or kindness at it. Let's learn how to soften around the closure. Let's learn how to be tender with ourselves. So I did write down that I was deciding to be happy, and maybe I've practiced this long enough that I felt like I had flipped a switch internally. And it was there for that whole day. And then the next day when I made decisions to support that decision, I walked, which I know is going to make me feel better. It's going to release. Yes, I'm a mental health therapist, but I'm not a physician. And I always forget if it's releasing dopamine. Serotonin is something we need to be happy, and sunshine increases that. And, but when I'm depressed, it feels like I can't take the 3 steps to walk out and sit in the sun. So, but the last few days I did it anyway. I did those dishes even if I didn't feel like it, and then felt great afterwards. I made that cup of tea. I sometimes feel anxious in the morning, and maybe because it is me trying to figure out how to get myself out of this pattern of depression, starting my day with difficulty. And so I would feel this anxiety you've got all these tools and you should do it. You should do mantras. It'll change your whole world. It'll change the channel in your brain. You've heard me say that. It'll raise your vibration. It'll help the planet. And then I would resist that because I was shoulding myself. And there was something I read, I think it was in the Advanced, this book I shared with you in a very recent video, A Guide for the Advanced Soul. Again, thank you, Karen Channing, for giving this to me. And I think there was something in there about the energy it takes when you're trying to do something. When you say, I have to do something, there's contraction in that. You know what it feels like when you should on yourself. So, maybe just start by, hopefully in this meant to be short video, and I'm going to sign off and honor that to myself, and I'm going to go back to listening to the birds. You've heard some of the things I do and have done the last few days. Heck, listen to any one of my channels. My channel, Laura Lynn, on mindfulness, meditation, and mantras that I started in 2019, then somehow got shut out of for a couple years later, and then I started this one, I Amming As. I am the divine in and expressing in and as the divine, expressing as and in the form of Laura Lynn Danley. And every one of you, put your name in there. And those videos are just chock full of all the tools I've used over the years. So as is today. So you heard me say I got up earlier, I stayed up. I may have told myself I could take a nap later in the morning, but I stayed up. I went for a walk. I made my morning tea. When I had the urge to do something, that was an assignment by my therapist recently, the same one who said, just enjoy laying in the bed. Give yourself permission to acknowledge how wonderful it feels, to luxuriate in it. He was also the one that said, don't run away from your pain. When you wake up in the morning, don't necessarily grab for the journal first thing. I don't know that he said that, because that's a tool that helps me express the pain. Don't do the mantras right away. If your intention is to bypass, I'm going to use the word spiritually bypass, my words, not necessarily his, or if it's giving me the message that the way that I have value is when I'm connected to my positivity and I'm sharing that with you all, he's like, just sit in the pain. Sit with the part of you that's in pain. Maybe it's just like the exercise he gave me about staying in bed. Suddenly it shifted with ease. Perhaps because the contraction was gone. So, just listen. I love you. I love you. I love you. You get it. You got the message. The tools you need are inside you. If it doesn't feel true to you today that you can decide to be happy, are you at least willing to explore some things that'll make a difference? I love you. I love you. I love you. Bye for now. The birds send their love too.